Hello everyone, my name is Mark Hayes and this is my evaluation of the school-based mental health intervention in war-affected Burundi. Alright, so just looking at a description of this intervention program, this article discussed the evaluation of a school-based mental health intervention for children in war-affected Burundi. The program aimed at addressing mental health needs of children exposed to armed conflict, and the intervention had dual objectives. The primary objective was the reduction of PTSD, depression, and anxiety symptoms in participating children in areas with armed conflict. And the second objective was improvement of hope and functioning in children with a focus on strengthening resilience processes in conflict-affected individuals. So this intervention used multiple elements, including coping skills, psychoeducation, and some discussion of trauma-related material through drawings. It was implemented in a school-based setting, suggesting a broad reach to a significant number of children. And the study also assessed the effectiveness of the program by examining longitudinal trajectories of various outcomes, including PTSD, depression, hope, and functioning, among others. The evaluation also considered moderators such as family composition, age, trauma exposure, and displacement status to understand differential effects in different subgroups of the study population. Alright, so now looking at the designs and methodology for this intervention. So looking at the design, the study followed a randomized controlled trial design where schools were randomly assigned to either the intervention or the control condition. The participants were children in war-affected Burundi, with the study considering various demographic factors and characteristics, such as family composition, age, trauma exposure, and displacement status. Alright, and the evaluation also includes moderation analyses of to identify differential effects in subgroups based on moderators like family composition, age, trauma exposure, and displacement status. Alright, so looking at the key findings, the study did not find any main effects on the primary and secondary outcome measures, indicating that the intervention did not lead to significant overall improvements in PTSD, depression, hope, or functioning. This article also acknowledges certain limitations and challenges, including baseline differences between study conditions, potential impact of dropout rates on the findings, and challenges related to blinding assessors. Alright, so looking at component 1, which focuses on conclusions and bias. So this study provides a clear and detailed description of the methods and procedures in the data. So this study provides a clear and detailed description of its methods and procedures, and the data is accessible for reanalysis, indicating a strong level of objectivity in these aspects. However, the research falls short in explicitly addressing personal assumptions, values, and biases. The methods employed to control for bias are also deemed inadequate, and there's a lack of consideration for competing hypotheses or rival conclusions. So overall, while the study demonstrates objectivity in certain aspects, improvements are needed in addressing personal biases and enhancing the robustness of bias control measures. So next, looking at component 2, which focused on credibility. The article adequately described the methods used in the study, including interventions and evaluations, providing a basis for understanding the research process. Research also employed a multidisciplinary approach, considering family, peer, and community level variables, enhancing the credibility of the findings. This article also did a good job showcasing internal coherence relating to intervention outcomes to specific contexts and conditions, and it also demonstrated an awareness of uncertainty and variability in the outcomes, which might especially be common in a war-affected location like Burundi. This article did not do a good job at discussing details surrounding negative evidence, consideration of rival explanations, or transparent data collection protocols. All right, so looking at component number 3, this component focused on statistical association. So this RCT highlights the importance of detailed pre-intervention assessments, indicating a deeper look into contextual factors is necessary. Its emphasis on a detailed examination of context and differential effects also suggests a focus on a nuanced understanding rather than a search for simplistic, statistically significant outcomes. All right, next component 4 focused on construct validity. So this article faces challenges in ensuring the accuracy of its findings about the studied concepts. It lacks clear details on how measurements were done and if the chosen indicators truly capture what they intend to measure. The use of unspecified methods and a lack of exploration in differential or indifferent treatment levels in participant responses may lead to narrow or biased results. The article does not address potential biases in how participants assess themselves, the expectations of experimenters, and other factors like how new or familiar a program is. It also doesn't discuss how well the chosen concepts fit the local context. These issues highlight the need for a more thorough and clear approach to make sure that the study's conclusions are reliable. All right, so next we'll look at component number 5, which focuses on generalizability. So this article doesn't directly talk about how widely its conclusions can be applied to other situations. It does stress the significance of considering the specific context when interpreting intervention effects. The article points out variations in effectiveness based on different settings, especially in conflict-affected areas. Although the study offers insights into the areas it examines, it doesn't explicitly discuss how broadly these findings can be generalized in different contexts. Exploring this further could provide a clear understanding of how applicable the study's conclusions might be beyond the specific setting investigated. All right, and finally, we're going to look at component number 6, which discusses usefulness of the study. So despite this intervention's ineffectiveness overall, it still provides helpful insight into the complexities of mental health interventions in conflict-affected areas, such as Burundi, which is relevant to various stakeholders. For clients in these affected areas, the insight into differential effects based on age, gender, and contextual factors provide valuable considerations for tailoring mental health interventions. Researchers can benefit from the study's emphasis on the theoretical framework of ecological resilience and the importance of pre-intervention assessments in understanding the interaction between the context and intervention effects. The community studied can gain from the identification of factors influencing intervention outcomes, guiding future efforts to enhance mental health support. While the intervention itself may not have been successful, the study contributes valuable knowledge that can inform more targeted and effective approaches in similar settings. All right, so next we'll look at the operational problems and implications of this study. So looking first at baseline differences, this article acknowledges baseline differences between study conditions. This can introduce confounding variables and affect the internal validity of the study, making it challenging to attribute changes solely to the intervention. Next, it had unblinded assessors. So this article mentions that the research assessors were not blinded to the study condition, and so this lack of blinding could introduce bias in the assessment processes, as assessors may have consciously or unconsciously influenced the result. So, and lastly is limited generalizability. So this study focused on a specific population of war-affected children in Burundi, and the findings might not be easily generalizable to other contexts or like populations in other countries. So this limits the external validity of the study. All right, so just continuing off the last slide, focusing on operational problems and implications. So once again, a lack of blinding in the study could introduce biases in the intervention implementation. Incomplete information on analysis. So this article also provides a general overview of the statistical analysis, but lacks detailed information on certain aspects, such as handling missing data and addressing potential confounders. All right, so looking at the overall assessment and recommendations. So overall, this RCT gives useful information about mental health interventions in areas affected by conflict, focusing on specific details. However, there are important issues like baseline differences, not using blinding, which makes the study less reliable. To make it better, the study should carefully deal with baseline differences, use blinding techniques, provide clearer details on statistical analysis, and think about how widely the findings can be applied beyond the specific study area. So that's it for this presentation, and I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.